Welcome everybody to the Staffing Matters and Urgency Committee. There are no apologies to record, everybody is here. So welcome to you all and those watching at home. First agenda item is declarations of interest. So I'll just give a couple of seconds, but I can't see any additional declarations of interest. Thank you very much. Takes us straight through to item 2, exclusion of press and public. And this is just to ask that for the relevant agenda items 9 and 10, that we exclude the press and the public on the ground that they contain information relating to individuals and the financial affairs of particular persons. And if we agree that, at that point in the meeting, we would drop into private session. Are we happy to agree that? I can see an agreement to that. Thank you very much. Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting that are on pages 1 to 8. And I'll just give a couple of seconds in case anybody has any questions or points. Councillor Douglas.
Yeah, I just wondered if I could pick up on a couple of the decisions made and progress on them. So under apprenticeships update on page 3 and then page 4, there was comment made about the need to review apprenticeship salaries, and I just wondered if that had been started yet.
We have gathered some data on other local authorities and what they do for their apprentices, although we wouldn't obviously mutually exclude, wouldn't mutually just look at their details. We are still looking at that, but obviously the local government pay review is still under review, and we will look at, but it's not something that's gone into full depth, but we have gathered some research on that at the moment, so it's still under there. We're proposing to bring back another review. It would have been after March, because that's when we would always report for our apprentice update, so we'll pick some up there as well.
Okay, thank you. That was all, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yes, Helen?
Chair, I'll just make the point that the appointment of Assistant Director for Adult Services is now appointed and in post as well.
Great, thank you very much. So if no further questions, I'll then sign off the minutes as a correct record. And then agenda item 4 is public participation. I don't think we have any registered public speakers today, so we can go straight on to item 5, changes to membership, which start on page 9 of our pack. Anything, Angela, you'd like to add?
No, it's just a change to the Health and Wellbeing Board for the new director, Sarah Coltman-Lovell, to replace Director Simon Bell, and for SACRE, there's an existing vacancy in Group B, and this is to appoint Sue Bland, the head teacher of St Oswald's Primary School, to that vacant position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are we happy with those 2 appointments? So I can see lots of nods to that. Thank you very much. Which then takes us straight through to agenda item 6, workforce demographics, that start on page 13. Over to Helen and to Ian.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a regular report. So this is as at the end of quarter 2. We have put a little bit of information in here as well that leads into quarter 3, which we'll be giving you a fuller update on at a later meeting. So our position in terms of our FTE and our headcount is only slightly different. Our highest reason for leaving remains to be resignations, and again that is the tend to be the trend across the Yorkshire and Humber, and to be quite honest, the trend everywhere now still with employers. It's a very, very buoyant recruitment market, so people are getting promotions and new opportunities, and we're not excluded by that. Similarly, we are being an attractive employer, so we still have that. We do still have recruitment challenges though, so that's there, which leads me on to say about work with York with assignments. You'll be aware that we are looking with all agency placements at the moment, and I'm pleased to report that the number of agency contracts have reduced, therefore our spend has reduced. Fast forward into quarter 3, you will see that I've put a comment in paragraph 7 of the report, paragraph 8 of the report, that we are similarly reducing, and when you look at the reports from January, February, they certainly have decreased, certainly in adult services and children's services, where we had a higher proportion of agency workers. We have also worked with Place as well. There are numbers there that are reducing, and I'm happy to say that quite a lot of those people have become successful in having permanent contracts with CYC, which is really good news in that sense. Moving on to sickness absence figures, we're still at the pre-pandemic level, we're still higher than the pre-pandemic levels, and that is the same for our neighbouring authorities. And as I've said at this committee before, unfortunately comparing on a like-for-like basis is very different. We don't all record absence on a similar basis. I would have to go back at least 15 years before councils used to have a standard sickness absence. So we can't compare like with like. By giving examples, some councils don't record absence for apprentices. That's one thing they might not do. Some councils may not record for anybody who is on long-term sickness absence, so it could be a cancer-related or long-term disability. They exclude those. We're all different, so and that's within their gift as long as they're able to they're recorded on a consistent basis. I would, however, say that we obviously continue to look at the well-being of our employees and provide managers with support accordingly to be able to do that. You may recall in December, nationally in terms of the general population, COVID was actually quite high, as was respiratory absences, especially just before Christmas, and that was certainly reflected in our absence as well, which spilled over into the beginning of January. So when we collate our figures for then, I do expect it to be high then. In terms of equalities profiling, etc., we have got workforce gender, etc., has remained largely the same, and it just remains steady. We still encourage employees to declare all of their personal profiling, and obviously we're looking at the latest census details as well to look to make sure that we are reflective of our local community. But going back to, and I think I've said this before, we can't mandate employees to actually declare all of their personal information, so we're as reflective as we can be at the moment. We can only strongly encourage them. But happy to take any further questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ian, anything you want to add?
I think it's quite a good summary and covered most of the points there. I guess just the two things I just add for paragraphs 111 and 112 in the report around working with York. I mean, the numbers really have come down quite significantly, and so I think we'll see when we sit here next time that actually will be around about 70 to 80 people who've been with us for more than 12 months, down from 120. And in terms of total current assignments, we'll probably be around the 260 mark from those high levels that you've seen there before. So that's what makes the impact, I think, on some of the starters that you see within the packs and the addition on the head count. But some generally good progress in that direction across the authority.
Thank you very much. So open it for any questions or comments from colleagues. Councillor Douglas.
Thanks. Yeah, I just, on the agency worker placements, I've heard quite a lot of talk in the directorates for adult social care and children's services about reducing agency workers. There's very strong drive there. I'm clear about that. I haven't heard as much mention from the place directorate about it, and their numbers still remain quite high as a proportion. I just wondered if you could outline what place are doing to make sure that they reach or reduce their numbers, and what are the targets for what they're supposed to be coming down to? What are they aiming for? Thank you.
Target-wise, I'll answer that question first. There isn't a specific target. What we're aiming for is to reduction on all agency staff as much as possible and try and get the spend down. Within the place directorate, a lot of the placements are actually funded, and they're quite niche placements, but we're still working with them to reduce them. So there might be fixed-term contracts related to funding applications. They've tried to do it, but because they're so far into a number of the assignment, as it were, it makes it very difficult to do that. That doesn't mean to say that we're not going out there and trying to recruit in certain areas. We have looked at market supplements, we have looked at a number of different ways of doing things. Similarly, we've done some quite creative recruitment challenges within there as well, so we're trying to look at that. But yes, I accept, but not all of the place ones are full-time as well. That's the other thing I would make a point. Although your numbers are there, they're not all full-time equivalents. There's lots of bits where they're coming on piecemeal work. One of the examples is trading standards. Yeah, trading standards is they will come in for a period of a week, 2 weeks, then not be in for another 6 months. So although you're seeing that figure, they're not in all of the time. And that is how an agency should be, so that they can come in and out and be reactive to service, etc. We have taken on a number, there was a big recruitment drive of refuse, refuse collectors in November. So we actually saw a reduction there, and they've become CYC employees as well. So there is a lot going on in place, but as I say, I think it looks a little bit more shifted because it's not all full-time equivalents, so the numbers look higher. Whereas in adult social care and children's social care, predominantly social workers, which are full-time equivalents. So take it from there. Did I answer all of your question there? Yeah. Yep.
Just a slight bit of addition to that. So I've seen work to review all the placements within place. Helen's given a good example. There are actually people who work within trading standards, but we also have people like cycle trainers. We have people who might be doing food inspections that are brought in for piecemeal work. And I've seen the department review all of those to see if there's a better staffing model for them. So that gives us assurance that they're getting towards the right levels of working with York. Helen's mentioned the depot recruitment, so I won't cover that, but there's a number of the placements there within specialised skills within the transport department, so additional work's been undertaken to try and recruit. I mean, Helen's mentioned market supplements, but really looking to see if jobs can be slightly made more attractive to bring people into the city, looking at the job descriptions within them. And that's what's helped to bring some of it down. So we will get within the place department to a level of working with York placements, which we won't get lower than because we've got cycle traders and food inspections. But it looks like going in the right direction there. Yeah.
Could I just check? I think you have told me about this, and apologies, I think I've forgotten. So people that are put on temporary assignment with CYC through work with York, are they all on the real living wage, or do they... I'll let you answer that.
Yes, they're on the comparable wage of whatever our employees are on. So, and we don't do it from within the agency regulations. You can do that after 12 weeks. We do it from day one. So, yes, they are on the real living wage. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can't see any other questions. So we've got the recommendations in front of us on page 15. So asking colleagues to note those, please. I can see some nods. Thank you very much. Which then takes us on to agenda item 7, the work plan for the committee. So this is on page 25. And Helen, anything you want to mention to us?
There's nothing further to add, Chair. If we've got further meetings later on in the year, we'll pick up the other aspects.
Thank you very much. So the next one is listed the 20th of March, which presumably should be the final one of this cycle. So we're noting that, so I'll just give a couple of seconds. I can see some nods, which takes us to urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business, and therefore we agreed earlier in the meeting that we'd exclude the press and the public when we considered agenda item 9 and 10. So thank you to those joining us up until this point.